Presenting Prezi. It was interesting how this is going to affect my future teaching when I look back into it. I really think I would do something like this again. I think that overall, despite some of the kids clamoring that they would prefer to be taught by a teacher, I think it's a really good exercise in them taking responsibility um, for their education. I think I would sell that better. I think I need to. I didn't do a great job in selling that. I think I just kind of said, "Hey, you're going to take responsibility," but hey, this is important because I think giving kids the motivation and understanding that is going to be important when I look into the future. When I look into how it actually went, I might scaffold it more. I gave kids graphic organizers that had all the stuff that they needed to have on there for sure and told them to put a little bit more, but I didn't leave any space for that, so I might have done that. But I think I would have scaffolded it more and then maybe giving them all the facts that I want them to get for those specific events. For example, like the specific stuff I wanted them to tell about FDR and George Marshall and Eisenhower and the people. I might have told them specifically what I wanted them to put in there. So that way, when they get into the lab, they already have that information and they can create that. But then, okay, you need to go beyond that. You need to, I've given you all the information. You make this with this, you get a 70. That's great. But you have to go beyond that to get an 80. You have to go way beyond that to get a 90. You have to go into other aspects, other people to get 100. I think that would have been an important aspect. I think also maybe requiring a specific type of, like, making sure on my threat, I guess, of you need to help your peers take notes because test scores were down. I might do this after the SOL. That might be where this goes. But I think that it's important also that students teach without that, or at least create it for themselves. And then I also teach it. Tell them to make this, and then I'll teach with it, like I did with my 5th period class, which I didn't talk about here, but they made their own prezzies, and then I taught using their prezzies, which it did well. They did about the same as every other class, a little bit lower than normal, but looking back, students enjoyed it. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm going to take out of this. Students enjoyed taking control and creating these prezzies, creating these presentations. I would probably not maybe use PowerPoint instead. Maybe use something they're a little bit more familiar with and then ease them into Prezi, or something along those lines. Give them more time. I think time was the biggest thing, obviously, and that's why potentially this could go after the SOLs. But giving them time, whether that time is I'm giving this to you a week in advance, you guys got to do all this research, and then the 2 days you have in class to work on it are solely the Prezi. You already have the research done. If you don't have the research, then you're in trouble. But or you can work on the Prezi at home. But I think that if I were to do this again, I think I would definitely give them this prompt and this idea a lot earlier than what I did, than just giving them 3 days at home and there to do it. I think that's really what I've learned. I've learned a lot that students really do like using technology, and they want to use technology. As frustrating as it was to them sometimes to use it, they enjoyed it. And about 80% of the class enjoyed it. 20% had issues with it, mainly coming from they didn't feel that they learned it well, and that comes from the idea of the students doing the bare minimum. And I already kind of discussed that a little bit earlier. 70, you get a 70 if you give me everything I would normally give you in a presentation. But really, I think the importance there is that finding a way to motivate kids to go beyond the minimum. And that might be them picking their own ideas. And that comes into this idea, once again, of doing this after the SOLs. And saying, go back in history, pick something you want to teach about that we've learned about. Or something we might not have learned about, but you want to go over. And give me a really good detail, and then you can give those to the class. So that's really the conclusion to this event. I thought it went phenomenally. I loved every second of it. I learned a lot that using technology takes more time in terms of planning than not using it. That goes into using the smart board, using all these things. It takes more time for me to plan and more time in class to use technology. But I think the benefits that come out of it can be seen in the enjoyment of the kids. They're motivated. They want to do it. There's days in the lab students weren't goofing off. They were working, and they were frustrated. A lot of them were frustrated because they didn't have enough time, and that might be something that I would change. But that's really my conclusion here for my DigHum, my digital humanities project, my action research project in the use of technology in the social studies classroom.